Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's Amir and
Vance Mizzy. How we doing today, folks?
we're actually, this is episode number 6. Dude. This is 6 weeks in a row we've been putting out the content for you guys. We are committed to this. I don't care if we have 20 views or 20,000 views.
We're going to grow this beast, and when they look back on the first 6, they're going to say, wow, I really missed out on something.
Yeah, there's great information in all these videos, and I want to, first of all, thank you guys for tuning in, and please remember to like and subscribe to the page, whether you're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or on the podcast.
Yes.
Please give us a thumbs up and give us as much support as you can. But this week, we're going to talk all about the marvelous listing presentation. Ta-da!
This is the lifeblood of the business.
Definitely a big portion of it.
If you're not a listing agent, then you're just an employee of whoever wants to hire you for the day.
That's true. I mean, listing is obviously, it's not guaranteed money, but it's the closest thing to guaranteed money in this industry. And I think it's very important that everybody understands the listing presentation and that process to where you can guarantee that you are selected amongst the thousands of people that are your competitors in your local area.
Yes. A couple years ago, I was sitting with one of my coaches, and we were talking about listings or buyers.
Right.
And he said, would you rather have 6 buyers or 6 listings?
6 listings, right?
6 sellable listings. And he said, the chances of you selling all 6 listings in a weekend are pretty good on a good weekend.
Right.
The chances of you actually getting 6 of your buyers out showing homes and in escrow, pretty slim.
It could take you 6 months.
Right.
Or 6 years, depending on the buyer.
Well, there you go. And what he was saying was, when you list homes, you've got the entire buying agencies doing the work for you. You list a house, and I don't want to say you sit back, but you do all the marketing, get it out there, and then you let other people work for you. And then if you have a buyer, you can bring them to that house.
Yeah, and there's a chance that you can make a double commission.
Yes.
And right? Because you can't double end when you're working with a buyer.
No.
Unless it's your listing, right?
That's right. And, there's nothing better than double ending a deal.
There's some things that are better, but
no.
We won't talk about that
in
on
real
the channel.
estate.
Okay.
In real estate. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about actually building out a listing presentation and getting yourself. This isn't doing the listing presentation. This isn't going on the listing. This is just getting yourself ready for it and
some key things that you need to know. I mean, as far as doing a listing presentation, I think that depending on the office that you're with, you might have a listing presentation like already prepared.
Right.
So our brokerage, obviously, like we've developed a listing presentation that we can have all the agents kind of customize and tailor to their own specific needs or their specific sellers, depending on the area. It's a nice like kind of pamphlet brochure. Yep. There's also an electronic version that they can pull up kind of on an iPad for that matter. So depending on what flavor of agent you are, if you're a techie guy, you can put it on the iPad. If you're a little bit more old school traditional, you might want to have these printed out and ready to go, depending on the area that you work. But there's a lot of great information on here, and some of it looks a little bit overwhelming, but it really comes down to obviously preparing this initially, and then obviously ensuring you understand what's on there, as opposed to saying, well, I put my picture in, I put my contact information in, and then I'm just going to hand it off to the seller. I mean, that defeats the purpose.
And it also, what I've seen these do for our new agents, and even for old agents, is it gives them a business.
Right.
Okay? And when I talk to agents, they say things like, oh, well, I'm waiting for my business card.
Right.
It's like, all right, well, what is your business card going to do for you?
Nothing. It's an extra piece of paper that somebody can throw away.
Yeah, you're going to walk out. You're going to be like, here's my real estate business card. It does nothing. And what these presentations do, and there's so many different kinds that you want to use, but what they do is they give you, as an agent, a kind of a business to represent and say, this is what I do. Okay, I mean, whether you're talking to friends, family, or a client.
I like to think of it as like a resume. So you're going on a job interview, right? You're meeting a seller, they're interviewing you, and these are all the key points of what makes you special and why they should pick you, and you should understand this to a T and be prepared to present what's on here, as opposed to say, here's my resume, do you want to hire me? And
maybe. Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it's a referral or
Right.
whatever, and you have a better chance. But 9 times out of 10, that's not the case.
Right.
Right.
And what I find, if you're going to do any sort of presentations like fairs, if you're going to go anywhere and you're going to tell people what you do, you want to have a couple of these with you that you can show people, as opposed to just going up and, if you're going to a home fair or something like that and you put out your business cards.
Yeah.
That's nothing. You're not telling anybody anything. If you have this, it gives somebody something to talk about. It's your personal brochure, and you should take it very serious. It's not something.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a stack of them in the car.
Right.
You could hand it out to people. People would say, "Hey, I need a realtor," and you're like,
Yeah.
"Here you go. This is what I do."
I keep one in the back seat of my car, behind the front seat. And whenever I have buyers or something in there, I always hear them pull it out and start flipping through it. They
There you
want to
go.
see what it is. It's telling them about the person and showing them the level of professionalism that they're dealing with. So jumping right into it, though, the first thing we were talking about was doing your homework, right? Knowing what you want to have in here, and knowing the area that you work, putting the photos that represent the area, and giving your presentation a feel. That people kind of see it and they know you're a beach agent, you're a city agent, you're a harbor agent. Who are you? Because it really makes a big difference. If you're talking, if you're in the desert and you're showing beachfront photos, then you're disconnected from what's going on.
Right. You wouldn't show up with something like this with a beachfront property.
Right. If you're in
to
the
do
middle
a
of
Palm Springs
right.
listing, right? Or maybe you would, but they wouldn't necessarily take you very seriously. So you're going to custom tailor this thing, and
Yes.
to who you're presenting to.
Absolutely.
Right. Obviously, you want to understand the market in the area. So that's one big thing to think about.
Yes.
You need to know what's active, what's pending, what's sold, what's expired. So I think the main category a lot of people miss is the expired category, because those are people that tried to sell, but they
Yes.
couldn't because they were overpriced. And, a lot of times sellers will look at what their neighbor tried to sell their property for and then go, well, mine should be worth that, right?
Well, theirs is ugly.
Yeah, but there is
Mine's
ugly.
worth much more. They didn't sell theirs, but I think I should get more for mine.
Right.
You're like, hey, another coach of mine used to call that the difference between reality and fantasy land. Right. And if anybody coaches with some, you've heard that before, where reality is what homes are selling for, and fantasy land is what homes are expiring at. And when you have a home, I was just sitting with an agent before, and the house, there was one house in the complex for sale for 122 days.
Right.
And she says, well, what should we list it for? I said, well, we need to go under that one.
Yeah.
Well, why? But, what if ours is nicer? I said, well, then either way, it's going to sell first, but you have to sell, you got to go under that, and it'll push forward. By the way, that house, 122 days, 3 price reductions.
Oh,
no
God.
offers.
So now it's a stale listing. That's the worst place you want to be. And that's part of why we do this presentation, so you don't end up with a stale listing.
Right. We're going to talk about pricing properties and
Yeah,
showing
that's gonna
people how to set that up.
Be part of the presentation. But as far as the homework goes, so not only like knowing the comps, and I usually like to have all the comps printed out so I can look at the condition, I can see what the amenities are, because some may have a pool, some may have a view, some may not, some are updated, some are not updated, so we got to deduct and add for certain things.
Right.
Generalities, like if one has a pool and yours doesn't, maybe you deduct a couple $100K for a pool, whatever, depending on where the house is or where you're selling. It could be $10,000.
Now, it's funny you said deduct, because again, pools, there's 2 rules of thought to pools.
There are
People either say, "Oh, it's got a pool," or
Oh,
it's got a pool.
Right.
Okay. So
It
for the
seems like
right
the
person,
older the client, the maybe
it's
the
worth it.
Yeah.
For the other person,
Some people are not swimmers.
right.
But in any case, you're looking at all that stuff. You're getting you have all that printed out, ready to go, and I think there should be a rehearsal process with this. So you've got this great presentation, but people don't take the time to go through it.
No.
Really review it and then practice. And the idea of the presentation is you're positioning these clients to close and to list with you. And if you don't know your presentation and you can't lead them down this path with the homework that you've done, I mean, you're just going to end up handing them this nice brochure, checking out their home and saying, here's my card, call me when you want to do something,
Right.
because they will not be asking any questions to you, and they'll be like, This was very boring, and you obviously don't know what you're doing.
Right. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. We'll call you if we need you.
Right.
And we've all experienced that.
Yes.
Some more than others, but we've
Yep.
all experienced it at some point. I think what we're getting at is the words we use matter, and the way we say it matters even more.
Absolutely. There's slight phrases that we can use where we're leading them down that path. We're funneling into this path of list with me,
Right,
and sell with me,
right,
and hopefully you understand your listing presentation. You can do that, right?
When we talk to people, do you want to list your home with me, Amir?
Well, I don't know.
Would you like me to sell your home for you?
Yes, I would like that. I probably want you to sell my home. Yeah.
When I ask you if you want to list your home, I don't know. We're going to have to talk about that. Do you want your home sold? Well, yes. Okay. And we as agents start to use terminology that we know in the office, but people don't understand outside. They hear list, like when my friend listed and they didn't sell.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to sell your house? Well, yeah, I want to sell my house. Okay, this is what we need to do. Okay, you want to list your house with me? No, I don't want to list my house. Okay, it's very, very small switches make big differences. Another one that I've recently started using is turning sellers' homes into properties, and properties we're searching for buyers into homes. So, Mr. Seller, we're going to need to sell your property. Hey, Mr. Buyer, let's go find you a home. Okay? Big difference. If I keep talking to Amir and he's the seller and, well, about your home, this is your home and I want to do the right thing for you and, get you out of this home. Everybody's thinking, wow, yeah, this is my home.
I'm kind of tearing up thinking that you're going to sell my home now, right? I don't want to. Bobby grew up here.
And the lines.
I buried my puppy in the backyard.
Right, the dog's in the backyard. Right. This is a property, and once we turn it into a property, it turns into what we used to call on Wall Street commodities.
Yeah.
The thing about a commodity is it's made to be bought and sold.
Right.
Okay, a home is made to live in and live with and grow old in and things to that effect. So you immediately turn the seller's home into a property.
Yes.
Yeah, home into a property, and the buyer's property into a home. Now they're like, everybody's thinking in the directions that they want to. We're talking about the same thing.
Right.
But you just need to make them understand what they're looking to do, because yes, this might have been your home, but the minute you take the couch, move the carpet, and put the doghouse in the car, it's an empty shell.
Right.
Now it is a property.
Exactly. So these little key phrases: the preparation, understanding the market, the comps, the area, understanding your competition, what everybody else is doing, whether it's commission or whether it's marketing. You want to prepare yourself for this event because it's could be a very lucrative commission for you, depending on where you're selling.
Can.
Right?
Certainly can.
So once you've kind of done that, then it's obviously you move on to the physical presentation, right?
Yeah.
You're setting up this appointment. You're going to their house. You've got this presentation. You've gone through it. You've rehearsed it. You know your comps. You know what you're going to be talking about. We particularly have a selling system that's about an 18-step selling system that will help sell your property within 30 days, or you can cancel listing. That's my guarantee. We were taught by our coaches to have some sort of guarantee on your listing. Some people get crazy and say, if I don't sell your home, I'll buy it. That's a pretty aggressive guarantee. And some will say they'll throw in staging, whatever. Maybe they'll cut back commissions or whatever the case may be. But for us, it's essentially 30 days for me particular, or you can cancel. If your listing's sitting on the market for over 30 days, obviously I've done something wrong. We've done something wrong. We're not working well together. There's an issue with the home. Yeah. And especially in this market.
Something's up. And it's usually not the price.
Right.
Being up. But the selling system is exactly that. It's not the listing system.
Right, it's selling system.
Hey, Mr. Homeowner, property owner, this is how I sell homes. And the cool thing about this selling system and having a presentation like this is everybody's using it in our office. the idea now is you can walk in as a brand new agent and be using the same tools. So if somebody asks you, how long have you been in the business?
Well, I've been in the business for 2 months.
Okay, yeah. But they're asking you that because you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
Okay, and if you come in with something like this, rehearsed, practiced, know it inside out, and you're presenting it properly to them, they're not going to sit there and ask you, how long have you been doing this? Because it's a situation that they're already feeling like you're in the business.
Right. I mean, if
you've
rehearse
done this before.
If you
obviously.
know your trade, they're not going to question how long you've been doing it.
Right.
Right. If you can present this confidently and you've rehearsed this thing, then they're not going to ask that, and they're going to go with you regardless of how long.
Because they feel comfortable with you.
And a lot of times, what we do is we'll basically talk about the brokerage overall sales and overall transactions for new agents. So that's another nice little tip that you can do on your listing presentation.
If you don't have sales in your pocket, talk about your brokerage sales.
Yep.
Right.
And there's no problem with that because you're part of the umbrella of the brokerage. So talk about what we do. Talk about our selling system. Like this is ammunition for you to present and get the job done.
Yeah. I mean, right now, we're selling a house a day, right?
I mean, more than that now.
More than a house a day.
2 houses a day.
So I mean, okay, you list with me, or you list your home to be sold with my brokerage. We're selling almost 2 houses a day. That's huge, right? Nobody's going to be able to say that as an individual, but you can always use that as a brokerage number. And if you can say that as an individual, God bless you, keep doing that. All right. But for the most part, as an agent coming in, 5 years, 10 years in the business, you can be able to say, look, 2 houses a day, folks. That's like 730 houses a year. Give me some on that.
That's pretty good. So we talk about our selling system, but 80% of what sells a home is the price.
Yeah,
and I think this is where like most agents fail, because the seller is like, hey, I want to sell my price. I've done my research on Zillow or whatever website. And they're like, this is what I want to list my house for.
No, I don't want to give it away.
Right. I don't want to give it away. And as agents, we go in and go, we're so scared and we're so happy with the fact that we got this listing that we essentially go, okay, well, so you want to sell for 900,000. The comps may be at 800, 8.25. You just want to take the listing because you're so excited. And guess what? That is a big mistake.
Now you're saddled with a listing that won't sell. That you continue to have to pour money into.
Right. You're doing open houses every week. You're updating your seller every week. They're annoyed. They're wondering why not selling. They're blaming it on you, not the market. They're thinking you're not doing your job as an agent.
Yeah. You said you'd sell it.
Right. Exactly. They've contracted you to do that. The listing then turns into an expired, and then somebody with some sales technique or understands the markets go back to them and say, listen, your previous agent didn't know what they're doing. They listed it too high. This is what it should be listed at if you want to sell. And if you don't want to sell at this price, we're not going to do business. And once you come across that confident with your price and your close on price, you know what? I mean, you're going to get that listing, you're going to sell it, or you're not going to do the deal. And that's okay. That's right? It's okay to say no to sellers.
You know what? You'll never gain more confidence in your business until you say no to a client for taking that business, because you don't believe that's going to happen.
Yeah.
The worst thing in the world, and I'm telling you firsthand knowledge, the worst thing in the world you can do for your own confidence, your business, and your reputation is take homes that don't sell.
Right.
You list a home, it doesn't sell, it does nothing for you. Okay, you list a home, it sells overnight, everybody thinks you're a genius. Okay, no matter how much you pour into it, if it doesn't sell, you didn't get the job done.
And part of the job is negotiating the price, the sales price.
That's right.
80% of it, because everybody can put on the MLS, everybody can get, professional photography, drones, whatever, do an open house, flyer, all that stuff. We all do that. We're all realtors. We all have access to all that fun stuff. But it's the price that what sells a property. And we talk about 3 pricing strategies, obviously, at our brokerage. If you're watching on the video, you can see pricing A, B, or C. So we actually have 3 different plans that they can choose from. So the first plan is obviously pricing it 10% below market, which everyone's like, oh my God, do I have to sell it? If we list it that low, do I have to sell it at that price? No, you don't have to take any offer that you don't want to take, sir.
right.
But the benefits to pricing it 10% below market is obviously getting multiple offers. There's going
right.
to be so many people swarming over that property and people begging to buy it. Obviously begging the listing agent to represent them to buy it, right? So that's good for you too. But we're creating this sense of urgency with this price point, getting so many people to the first week in open house, maybe minimal showings, creating a bidding war, and selling the property within 30 days total. I mean, you know, from listing to close. I mean,
and look, there's
deal.
nothing like getting a home sold for everybody.
Yeah.
All right. A homeowner does not want their home on the market for 30, 60, 90 days.
Yeah.
All right. They can't keep it clean that long. There becomes fractures within the relationships on who's doing what and who's kind of towing the line on keeping everything straight. They're coming down on you and as the agent. They're coming home to the sign every night that, you may list a home and not see it more than once a week when you're showing it.
Yeah.
But they're coming home every night and seeing your sign out front.
Yeah. And they don't like seeing that.
No, they're being
They're
reminded.
not happy about that.
It's not sold.
Right.
They're being reminded they're on the market and then maybe this isn't what they want to do. And, I talk to expireds all the time. And one of my questions is, did your plans change? And you decided not to sell the home? Or did you not sell the home and have to change your plans? And that's a big kind of issue hanging over their heads. There's three things that people are concerned with in today's world, that bring the most stress on, okay? It's death, moving, and public speaking. Those are the three, okay, that people most stress over. And when you saddle in moving there right there, that's huge. The fourth one is finances, by the way. So you saddle in moving and financing within the top five. Those are the finances. Those are the two things that people are stressing over.
Right.
The top five things they're stressing over are two right there that you represent. That's huge. And you as an individual need to understand you're doing the work for somebody that they are just frazzled every night. Sometimes people don't sleep for days when they put their home on the market.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the biggest transactions they'll do in their life.
Yeah, no matter how much money you make.
Houses, cars, those are the two biggest purchases in their life or sales.
Talk to a guy who's got $100 million in the bank. His house is going to be pretty substantial compared to that bank account.
Absolutely.
And the same with anything. That's almost always the largest single investment they've made, and certainly the largest single investment they've made in themselves. Maybe not in their business, but in their personal, this is for me. I'm going to come home to this every day. Okay, and that's huge.
Definitely. So yeah, pricing it below. We're going to sell it quickly. We're going to start at a low price, and we're probably going to get bids that go higher and higher and higher until we chase up the market. We're in control. We dictate our terms. We're telling them, how long of an inspection they can have. We're maybe getting a free rent back on the back end. We may be getting some other sort of fees or credits that we would normally pay. Maybe we're not necessarily paying those, and we're getting this thing buttoned up on the seller's terms. Like the seller says, I want to move in 60 days. Let's close in 30. I can take 30 days to shop, get a free rent back, got the cash in the bank to go pull the trigger on something else. It's a beautiful place to be. Option B is at market. So talking about if you're pricing right at market, it might take you 30 or 60 or 90 days to sell the home. You're doing more showings, more open houses. You might have to sell a little bit below your list price, negotiate a little bit. It's going to take a little bit longer. Not necessarily a bad plan, but I mean, obviously, option A will get your home done more efficiently. And then there's option C, the above market price point. Let's chase down the market.
Well, Amir,
we can always go down. We
can
can't
always
go
go
up.
down. I can cut the price.
Right.
Well, what are you willing to sell it at?
Yeah.
What's the lowest amount you're willing to sell this property at? Let's list it there. Okay, and let's go up from there as opposed to down from some silly number that you don't want, that we're not going to get. Okay, well, isn't it frugal to ask the most money we can for a property and then be willing to come down and cut our price for people? No.
No. I mean, you won't
No.
get people offering on the property
Yeah,
if you
people-
price it too high. They're just going to pass right by that.
Yeah.
You're going to have a stale sign on that. It's going to be a stale listing. You're going to get little or no offers. You're going to have tons of showings, sporadic over the course of 6 months to a year. It's going to be a nightmare. You don't want to live in that space. It's better not to take a listing than to go with the seller's price for which you know is way overpriced.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay to walk away from it.
Absolutely.
Let somebody else list it. You can catch it on the expired and say, hey, are you ready to list with me? I've got a selling system that's going to get it sold within 30 days or less.
You tell somebody, look, that's overpriced. I'm not going to take the listing.
Mm-hmm.
And let them list it with somebody else and come back 6 months later and take it at your price. You just want a client forever.
Yep.
Because now they're going to look at you and think, you know what? You really know your stuff.
Absolutely.
I get it now.
Absolutely. So obviously in your listing presentation, you're going to talk about home staging, the marketing that you're going to do, maybe an example of an open house flyer, talk about ways that you're going to communicate with them, talk about different strategies that you might use with them. But you're going to keep it pretty simple. But the main things is that you're going to lead them down this path to get started, right?
That's one thing I always like to end my listings on is communication. In today's world, people communicate on a million different platforms.
Right.
Okay, and if you're communicating with somebody in a manner that they're not comfortable communicating with, and if you're texting away, and these people don't text, then you become irrelevant.
Right.
All right, and this guy keeps. My dad doesn't answer his phone. Okay, can't text him. You can't really get him on the phone. The only way to talk to my father is through my mom. But he came to me one day. He says, "Hey, what's this thing on my phone?" And it was his voicemail.
Yeah.
I saw your voicemail. I opened it up. He had, I don't know how he had so many. He had like over 100 messages on his voicemail, but it was full now. And he's like, "Oh, well, just erase those." I said, "Don't you want to know who called?" He says, "No." Right? So they're irrelevant conversations with him. So if you're calling somebody and you're trying to get through to them, you're like, "I don't know, I left him a million messages." Text him, email him. Now, if I email my dad, he gets me back right away. He sends me, he sends me 6 ridiculous email jokes and all the other stuff, but he reads his email.
Interesting.
All right, so that's how do you
No voicemail, but
communicate?
email.
No voicemail, no texting. He'll email all day long.
Okay.
So there you go. It's a prime example, and even more so when you're dealing with a husband and wife. Who am I talking to?
Talking to the wife.
Maybe, right? Who? And I'll ask at the table. I'll ask at the table
because the women make the decisions.
Who's the point person? Who do you want me to contact every day?
Okay. Well,
Okay.
at the presentation.
You're talking to the wife. Absolutely.
That's what I'm thinking.
No, I'm thinking when we're leaving. I got the sales contract. All right, the listing contract. I have it. My next step is who am I going to talk to?
You would ask that question.
Right. Who am I going to communicate with? Because you don't want to be communicating with both of them on different platforms.
Right.
You want to kind of
what I like. My best practice is like if I find out they're both texters, just create a group text, and then that way both of them are getting it. It's all transparent. They're not going to say, "Well, let me check with my wife." Like you're letting both of them know at the same time. They're both on title. They can both be involved in the process, and they can circle back with each other and communicate about it, and everything's transparent. It's not like you're working one over the other. I find that to be the best practice for me. But.
So let's talk about closing them up. How do you close the deal?
Are
you ready to list with me?
Yeah.
My
close is like, let's go ahead and take care of the paperwork.
Okay.
And that's a key indicator of like, hey, let's get this done. Not like, hey, do you want to list today with me? The question is no or yes. But let's go ahead and get started with the paperwork, and that way we can get the marketing going, and it's a soft transition. It's a transition into a close where it's not so like, all right, let's sign this today. Sure.
My question is, are you ready to sell this house?
There you go.
Are you ready to sell? Because they're like, well, yeah, okay.
Right.
Then all we need to do is this. And I bring the least amount of paperwork possible to the presentation with me that just gets them under contract. And I say, I'll have my assistant send you all the other paperwork through DocuSign.
There you go. If you're using a TC, they'll send over whatever else they need to sign, but you get the main contract signed, and you get maybe an exclusion signed if you're not putting it on the market right away, right? You have that ready to go, get that signed.
And you should be using a TC, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody should, but there's some people that want to do their own stuff.
Right. I mean, it's tedious, and our jobs as realtors is not paperwork.
It is, but it isn't.
Yeah, our job is
the broker
actually
requires
go and
it.
find paper.
Talking to a broker, yeah, it's your responsibility.
Come on. Our job is to go find more deals. Okay, we can hire people to do the $10 an hour, the paperwork pushing and getting everything straight. Our job is to actually go out and connect with people,
right,
and go dig up that treasure, right? Not polish the coins kind of thing. We can hire someone to do that. You can't hire somebody to find business for you.
That's true. That's true. That's what we're here for, right? Prospecting, marketing, and sales, right?
Negotiate the contract and then let somebody else handle not let it go and forget about it, oversee everything, but let somebody handle the day-to-day details on the contracts that you just need to review and say, yes, send that, as opposed to sitting down and chasing after line items. It's
very time consuming.
Yeah. And it's just not where your time is best spent if you prospect.
That's right.
If you don't prospect, then paperwork is all about what you want to do because it takes time.
Right. So let's see. We cover mindset. Are we kind of talk about mindset?
Yeah, a little bit. I think your mindset most of all needs to be of the fact that I sell homes, and what I tell all of my trainees and mentees is, I'm the answer. Okay, when I walk into a room and I'm talking to a client, I am their answer. Right? They have a problem, I'm the answer.
Right.
Okay, you need to sell your house? I sell houses. Right? You need to buy a house. Funny thing, Amir, I sell houses. I'm the answer. I can fix this problem because people want their problems fixed. And with mindset, the other piece is being solution based.
I think without a doubt, like you have to have that mindset like, hey, I'm the right person for this job. Like there's no other person that you would want to list with other than myself. And I'm going to give you the best service and I'm the best person for this job. And having the documentation, the presentation, the process to follow suit.
You come in with something like this, you expect them to say yes. You're surprised when they say no. Okay. And every appointment I go on, every time I show a home, I expect them to say yes.
Right.
If I go, I didn't think you were going to like that one anyway, I don't even want to show you that house.
Right.
Right. Because I will because they want to see certain places. But the bottom line is you would need to expect people to do business with you and be surprised when they don't, as opposed to the other way around, which most people are. You mean you actually want to list with me? Right? As opposed to, of course you want to list with me. Here, sign right here. Press hard, lots of copies. Right? and the idea behind that is your mindset is at ease. And when you're solution based, again, you're at ease. You're easing other people's issues.
And the other part of that is like, it's okay not to take this client on. There might be people. It goes both ways. It's not just you're begging for this listing and you're trying to get this deal. You might meet the client and you might look at the property or you might find out their price expectation and you might have to say no.
Yeah.
Right. There's some deals that you just might say no to.
And there's also deals that you leave and 6 weeks later, 9 weeks later, you say, I should have said no to that deal.
Exactly.
My mind must have been not in the right place.
Yeah.
But there's such thing as grounding yourself before you go on.
Absolutely.
Right? Sitting in the car 5 minutes, showing up to the meeting 10 minutes before you're supposed to be there, sitting in your car for 5 minutes and getting your mind straight and going and knocking on the door a couple minutes early as opposed to 5 minutes late. Okay, and if you're 5 minutes late, you have no time to sit in the car and get yourself straight.
Right.
You come flying in, skid in sideways, jump out of the car, half your stuff is in the driveway, you roll running up, you knock on the door and you're like, list with me. I mean, sell your home. I mean, I forgot what I was supposed to say.
Right.
You're a mess. As opposed to sitting down and grounding yourself. And you and I both do that you know, whether or not we're walking in the office.
Right. I just prepare myself before I walk in all the time.
Yeah, because you walk in and it's like
the show's
thunderstorm,
right.
You know, like
showtime.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, mindset's a big part of it. So obviously, being prepared, mindset, having your presentation done, going in there, you know, confident, okay to say no to a deal.
Yeah.
And rehearsed, ready to go, understanding your market, understanding what's going on with the marketing and everything, and your selling system and the pricing strategy. With all that, I think it's a winning combination for you to go and do a listing presentation.
After that, have them sign it, walk out the door, and the sky gets bluer.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, you start singing songs on the radio.
You start appreciating the birds chirping in the background, and the world becomes a nicer place. And why? Because you finally feel accomplished.
Right.
And there's nothing more accomplished than the phone call from title saying you're confirmed.
Right.
The house is
the
sold.
closing, right?
You've closed and you're handing keys to somebody.
Yeah.
There's something magical about that 15 minutes that you actually get to spend with somebody and hand over the keys. And no, you just changed someone's life.
Yeah. And that's why we're in this business, right? Yeah. You know, it's about that close and about changing somebody's life and helping them through that process and offering a solution for them to get it done. That's why we're realtors.
And with that, you get to change yours.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, this is all the time we have for this week's episode of Real Estate Agent Rehab. I want to thank everybody for tuning in again. Make sure you're hitting that like button, you're subscribing, you're following us, whichever platform you're on. Again, this is Amir Al-Kayat and
Vance Mizzi. Thank you so much, folks. We'll see you soon. We'll see you next week.
All right.